All right, let's get right into it. We're going to distill 30 years of raw, unconventional business wisdom from an entrepreneur who's built, get this, 19 companies from the ground up. This is not your standard textbook advice. This is a playbook for the real world. So let me ask you a question. When you think about starting a business, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, it's some brilliant, one-of-a-kind idea. And of course, a huge pile of money. But what if that whole concept is just completely backwards? In fact, this entrepreneur argues that starting with an idea is exactly where most people get it wrong. The real secret, the actual starting line, well, it's somewhere you'd probably never expect. And that brings us to our first major mindset shift. It's all about rethinking your starting point. You don't need to find a gap in the market. You need to find something inside yourself. See, the foundation isn't originality. It's obsession. This quote really gets to the heart of it. When he started one of his most successful companies, there were 500 other businesses doing the exact same thing. So how do you win? Simple. He loved it more than anyone else. So here's your first actionable step. Your whole business can start with a simple, radically honest list. First, write down everything that sets you on fire. Then write down all the stuff you absolutely dread doing. Your job is to build a world around that first list and find people who love doing the things on your second list. That right there, that's the seed of your enterprise. Okay, once you found your starting point, it's time to talk about the internal game. Because success isn't just about what you do, it's about how you think. And honestly, most of us have been trained to think in a way that actually hurts our chances of success. This chart just flips traditional education on its head. In school, getting an A is success, and failure is the worst possible outcome. But in business, failure is literally a prerequisite for success. It's why you hear that wild statistic that 80% of A students end up working for D students. The D students just aren't afraid to fail, which means they're not afraid to try. Another secret weapon is delayed gratification. This is a big one. It's the discipline to build something valuable first and worry about making money from it way later. Just think about it. Facebook and Google didn't make a dime for years. They just focused on building something amazing that users loved. A lot of people think luck is just random, but you can kind of engineer it. First, your passion makes you persistent, so you can outlast everybody else. Second, you have to define your own finish line, not what someone else says it should be. And finally, forget that old saying, the harder you work, the luckier you get. The truth is, the more calculated risks you take, the more chances you create for luck to find you. Okay, now for a hugely practical tool. I want you to forget everything you've ever learned about business plans. We need a blueprint that can actually breathe and evolve with you. That traditional 20-page business plan, it's a relic. It forces you down this straight, rigid path. But business is never a straight path. Sticking to a fixed plan while the world changes around you is a recipe for disaster. You need to be fluid, like a boxer in the ring, ready to adapt at a moment's notice. And this is the alternative, a simple mind map. You start with your passion right in the center. From there, you just let ideas flow. What are some revenue streams? Bubble them out. Who do you need on your team? Create a new branch. It becomes this living document that grows with your business, letting you connect all these different ideas as you go. You can't build momentum alone. That's just a fact. So the next step is all about finding the right people to amplify your efforts, whether it's a co-founder, a customer, or a partner. Now, when it comes to finding a co-founder, it's a simple two-part formula. First, you look for someone with opposite skills, somebody who is brilliant at the things you despise doing. But, and this is completely non-negotiable, they must share your core values. This person is basically your business life partner. You have to be on the same page, morally. This is the absolute key to sales. People don't buy what your product is, they buy what it does for them. They buy the outcome, the feeling, the transformation. Steve Jobs didn't sell a phone with a processor. He sold a tool for the crazy ones, the game changer. So the sales process isn't about manipulation. It's really just a system. Step 1, do they actually need you? Do your research. Step 2, do you genuinely like each other? If you can build a real connection, the third step, the deal, it just happens. It becomes the natural, easy conclusion. All right, let's talk about the end game. What are you truly building here? It's not just a company that sells things. It's something way more valuable and way more enduring. Your real asset is your brand, and a brand is simply the reason people care about you. It's what they say about you when you're not there. It's your purpose made tangible. It's why Nike means victory and Apple means creativity. It is the soul of your company. And here's the ultimate proof. When our entrepreneur sold his company for a life-changing amount of money, the buyers were explicit. They told him, "We bought the brand, not the business." They weren't just buying a balance sheet. They were buying the reputation, the value, the feeling he had spent years building. That is your most valuable asset. So, as we wrap this up, let's go all the way back to the beginning. From a young age, we're all asked this one question that frames our entire future, and it does it in a really limiting way. It focuses on a job title, not an impact. And here is the reframe. The right question isn't, what are you going to do? It's, what problem are you going to solve? Once you start with your passion, your purpose becomes clear. And from there, your real work begins. So I'll ask you, what problem will you solve?